right, so here's the scenario. You're on TRT and you're on injections of a long ester, but then you add one pump every day, every other day, every third day of a small concentration, like 100 milligrams per milliliter of transcrotol test cream, and then suddenly you're hornier, your erections are better, you're waking up with wood, your climaxes hit deeper, and the whole sexual system gets an overhaul and is much better. This isn't placebo. I'm going to explain in this video what's really happening and a strategy I have seen work that is a hybrid injection cream protocol with a little bit of cream on top of your injections that quite honestly really kicks ass. So let's break it down. All right, before we start the video, LCortex Labs is a TRT guidance, sexual dysfunction resolution, and performance optimization company. Basically, I'm the guy that deals with penis problems. Got a couple different products ranging from Mastering Testosterone Cypionate, a video course that lays out how to achieve libido and erections on the hardest ester to do that. It's called Mastering Testosterone Cypionate. Lastly, I'm a coach on TRT. People very routinely hire me for libido, erection, well-being, sexual function issues, whether on HRT or not. Usually to dial people in on various esters. That is my job. You can hire me for any of the packages we have at livecortex.com in under a minute. Okay, so the notion of using a hybrid TRT protocol is not foreign to people. It basically suggests that you could be doing injections of testosterone of a long ester like cypionate, and you have whatever baseline you're at with estradiol and total test and DHT, but then intermittently throughout the course of a week you run a fast acting testosterone modality like test cream or test prop, and that supercharges libido and erections for between 1 and 3 days, after which you basically just dose again, and then you keep the sexual system totally peaked the entire time. Whereas sometimes with injections, no matter what dose you're at and whatever ancillaries you have, you can't always achieve that. I've seen this to be the case for some individuals. Like, you're injecting cypionate, your test levels are fine, your estradiol is pretty okay, DHT is mid-range and not deficient, like you would see nothing wrong in the bloods. And sex, like libido and erections, sensation and climax ability, it's all fine, but not amazing. Then you add a small dose of a fast-acting ester or fast-acting testosterone modality like test cream, just a microdose, and then boom, erection surge, libido surges, climax surges, sensation surges, and you're like, what the hell happened here? And importantly, can I replicate this consistently? The answer is definitely you can. But let's talk about what happens and why this may be useful. All right, number one, the extra dose of testosterone, like say again, you do one pump of 100 milligram per milliliter transcrotol cream every other day. That pump doesn't just like raise testosterone. It's not like increasing your injection amount from 120 milligrams of CYP a week to 127 milligrams of CYP a week. It's totally different. It's a fast absorption. It's a high local, meaning in the sex organ, DHT conversion. It's a slight but sharp bump in estradiol, and you get essential nervous system stimulation from the androgen rise. And what this ends up giving you is faster hormonal activation, better pre-sex arousal. Like the arousal thing that happens like before sex or as you're working up and kissing and doing whatever, it's like more intensified. Probably the best part about this that people report, my clients specifically, is increased penile sensation and a sharper climax intensity, and in some cases making people climax a little sooner than they'd want, which is generally a good thing because it means you're super sensitive and everything's working good. Scrotal skin, okay, when we're talking about transcrotol cream, is highly vascularized, which translates to much faster testosterone absorption. This is why I've always been such a proponent of fast acting stuff like testosterone propionate, because it just hits the system way quicker and way differently, and you get these peaks and things. As you all know, there's a lot of 5-alpha reductase 2 enzyme activity in scrotal skin. So you get a conversion to DHT that is amplified via doing this on top of your injections, which may not be that amplified and is much more if you're on a stable long ester. It's just sort of consistent. And as you guys know, and as I've made super clear, and I want to make sure that you don't take the gospel of the DHT haters, DHT is the king androgen for erectile tissue, corpus cavernosal nitric oxide synthase, and sexual sensitivity and climax pleasure. DHT is the hormone that enhances all of those things, just to be clear. I've got these strange cases in client work where DHT gel, like a DHT topical applications, restores libido and erections in guys who weren't responding to every imaginable dose of just injections of TRT like enanthate or cypionate alone. Let's talk about the pulsatile effect of adding some cream on top of your injections. Okay, so look, injections equal steady state hormone levels, steady state. We all think of that as pretty good, and generally it is because you feel the same all of the time. And if you can get the dose right with your ancillaries, then you generally steady state feel like pretty good. But what you can't get in those contexts, especially if you're dosing like pretty consistently, like every day or every other day, like cypionate, you can't really get a fast rise in androgens, which sometimes your body really does need. And rapidly. I mean, I'm talking about like 6 hours later increases sensation, erection quality, libido, climax, all this good sexual stuff. And generally, like, these are the cases that if sex is like okay, it's like fine. It's like doable, tolerable, but it like isn't amazing, where you could go back to that teenage libido and those still raw erections. All right. Okay. So the point is, if you're on injections and estradiol looks good specifically, so like it's in your range, test is moderately high or higher, wherever it ends up, sex is fine, but not incredible. Just adding something fast acting, a very, very small dose, call it a micro dose, like 1 pump of 100 milligrams per milliliter of transscrotal cream, almost definitely will improve everything sexually. Now, here's one way that people can really employ this strategy, like to be super surgical on TRT with a hybrid protocol. Generally, if you don't respond to AIs, meaning they give you joint pain, they fuck with your dick, they fuck with your libido, and they cause other problems like, heart racing or palps or whatever, then you're going to have to go on a low dose of test between 80 and 120 milligrams a week. Now, in that regard, you will probably land in your estrogen sweet spot. Or maybe if your dose is too low, estrogen's going to be too low and the sex stuff won't be particularly optimal. And you might think at that point, okay, well, I need to increase the dose from, call it 100 to 112 milligrams a week. But what I've seen be really effective in these cases is rather than increasing your steady state cypionate dose, which by the way will take 4 weeks for minimum, right, for you to see exactly how that balances out because it's such a slow building ester, you get to, if you're on the lower end of testosterone and things aren't quite great, you get to see exactly where you have to be by adding a surge of specifically DHT, but a little bump in estradiol, and of course a surge of testosterone that leaves your system and is totally out at like hour 36, like a day and a half, 2 days max, it's totally out. So there is no long adjustment period. You don't have to wait 5 fucking weeks to do this. You can have a stable kind of low dose of testosterone. And again, sex is fine. It's pretty good, but not amazing. And you get to experiment with a fast acting ester that gives you androgens right away, a surge in everything, central nervous system, penile tissue, DHT everywhere. And you get to see how it affects you in 7 hours, right? I mean, this is when this stuff starts to peak. Test is peaking. You get a lot of conversion to DHT right away. Within that 6 hour window, your DHT is peaking. And then if it's the wrong dose, maybe you need a half a pump, maybe you need 2 pumps, but whatever it is, if it's wrong, you can figure that out in 2 days. And then you can just adjust. It's better to be on the minimum side of testosterone, like in these cases of not responding to high doses with an AI, because if you respond to that and your dick works and your libido is crazy, then please just do that, because you're going to get more anabolism and energy and all that stuff. But in the cases of people who can't do that, it's best to be on the lower end, maybe even a little lower than you should, and then you just add a fast-acting modality on top of that to meet you exactly where you need to be, where it's then not going to be, if it goes too high for weeks, because it takes 8 days for, cypionate to clear your system. 36 hours later, you're back to baseline. And then what you get to do is kind of have your cake and eat it too. You have this stable, long-acting ester, which is creating a very, very steady state hormonal environment, which is giving you anabolism, energy, fueling metabolism, all that stuff. Then for the sexual system, you can peak it superficially. You can manufacture a peak in DHT and sensation and erection quality and morning wood and climax ability and time to climax sensation. You can manufacture a supercharging of those things with a little bit of cream. And it's fucking awesome. But there are conditions. So let's talk about the conditions and let's talk about an example protocol. Number one condition, though, is that as you are in your steady state of testosterone, your dose of testosterone, your estrogen really can't be over your range, which you need to identify. For me, it's like over 30. Over 30, you know, my erections start getting a little piss poor. I could go up to 35, 40 is kind of pushing it for me. So you need to identify what that is. So if it's 30, which it is for a good degree of men on TRT, the high end of Quest's range in picograms per milliliter of estradiol ultra sensitive, then make sure your testosterone dose and your HCG and your DHEA land you in a place where you're under 30 in terms of estradiol, because then you have room to move up in estrogen. You can get the peaks in DHT and all that penile tissue optimization for erections and sensation and climax, but you really don't run the risk of increasing estradiol out of your range. So it's actually better if you can find in these cases of this subset of people. Just want to make that clear for those of you that like to think I'm making blanket statements when I'm not, and you're not listening to the conditional logic. I hate that. Stop doing that. There, you can get the surge of DHT and all the good sexual stuff without taking estrogen over your range. So the one condition is make sure estrogen isn't over your range, over your sweet spot, and it's a little below it, and then you add cream on top of it, and you only get benefits. You only get the DHT and all the sexual optimization, and estrogen doesn't go too high. And in that case, generally speaking, it is between 80 and 120 milligrams a week of testosterone, with, you know, minor doses of HCG, 150 to 200 IU every day or every other day, depending on how you respond to it. That lands people in an estradiol Goldilocks zone relative to sexual function, where you have a little bit of wiggle room if you want to move up in estrogen just a little bit from that dose of cream. On a small dose of 100 milligrams per milliliter cream, just one small little pump transcrotally, probably bump the estrogen up 5 to 7, you know, max 10 picograms per milliliter. So if you're sitting at 25, that's probably not going to be a problem, and everything will just work really well. So that's the one condition. Make sure your estrogen is not over range as you try to do this, because probably adding extra cream will make things worse. One thing that I have found in coaching, as well as ruthless experimentation with myself over the years, is that if you're at a steady state of estradiol that's like pretty low, and then you boost androgens, that estradiol does start converting right away, but it takes your body like a day or two, sometimes 3 days, for that estrogen to fully catch up and for any negatives to happen from estradiol. But in the meantime, you get a state of like lower end estrogen and surging DHT, which makes you, in terms of libido, insatiable. And in terms of erections, it brings you back to the teenage years. So keep that in mind. You could always manufacture that. You're keeping estradiol low, and then you just get a bump in androgens. That's where you're going to find the sexual sweet spot, my friends, where things are not just okay, where they're amazing. So say you're on 100 milligrams of test a week, your E2 is at 22, and you have functional testicles via a small dose of HCG, and you're taking some DHEA, and you feel pretty good, generally okay. You're not a monster, obviously. I mean, if you're running 200 milligrams a week, well, then you feel like a fucking monster, even 150 for some people. Then on top of that, you just dose one pump of 100 milligrams per milliliter. You want the small concentration, the lower concentration cream, so that you don't take estrogen too high, and it's not too much of a load of everything at once. One day, you just put one of those pumps on the scrotum, you let it absorb, you go about your business. Then you're going to notice, especially if you have a partner, I mean, sure, you can masturbate to figure this out, but if you have a partner, you're going to notice, if these conditions are met and estradiol isn't already too high, that everything fucking surges crazily. And then it's about, what is the frequency of the cream dose that I should be employing moving forward? Should it be every day? Should it be every other day? Should it be every third day? And this is the answer that I have found through years of coaching on this. Every other day or every third day is the best frequency for adding a fast-acting ester on top of your stable baseline of like a long ester like cypionate. And that's because like these hormones take time to go down. You know, you get this surge in DHT and all that stuff, but 24 hours later things start to come down, but they're still not fully down. And then hour 36, you know, pushing 36, 48, again, that second day is when things start to go back to normal, but estradiol is still slightly higher than it was. So that's where you got to be careful not to do it every day, because then you'll just take estrogen over your range. Every other day or every third day is the best frequency of doing this. All right, so I hope that makes sense. This isn't just about chasing higher testosterone numbers. It's about delivering hormones where they matter and when they matter. Okay, adding one pump of cream on top of a stable baseline of cypionate isn't just about boosting total testosterone. It's about hitting DHT specifically in the penile tissue and in the central nervous system in a way which injections can't. Try it for real. Small dose, one pump on top of your stable baseline of cypionate, assuming estradiol is not over your sweet spot range, which hopefully you figured out. And watch what happens to your erections, your sex drive, sensation, and climax ability. And you'll know within 10 to 24 hours that this stuff is real. Drop a comment if you would, if you've layered cream or a fast-acting ester on top of a stable, long-acting ester of testosterone, and I'd love to hear how the hell it went. All right, as I said at the beginning, what I primarily do is help people out of sexual dysfunction, because you could be on testosterone and still have sexual dysfunction, because these hormones need to be in the right ranges for you, especially estradiol. And sometimes it's not as easy as finding the right dose or taking an AI or taking Masteron to get it there. It's like, how much DHT do you need? How much androgen load versus estradiol? What is your unique ratio? And these are the kind of things that I've been figuring out for years. I've worked with everybody under the sun in every type of situation where we had to restore sexual function on HRT, on cycles, finding the right doses for people, finding the right ancillaries for people. That is my job. So you can hire me in under a minute if you need to do that and you're just tired of trying to dial in yourself. Just let me do it. This is what I do. We've got a one-off call with me or longer one-on-one packages. Listen, if you've got the budget, some of this stuff takes time. We're going to need some time to dial you in perfectly, but I promise you, if you trust me to bring you on board to your protocol, I will not leave until it's perfect. Hire me in under a minute. We'll be on the fact-finding exchange as soon as tomorrow. Those of you going at this alone and you're on cypionate, I built an entire video course on how to dial in with this ester. It is notoriously hard to do, right? Because there's a lot of confusion. It's high dose with an AI, no AI. Should I use an AI? What about DHT derivatives? What about DHT itself? What about providing? How do I implement that? Specifically, how do I get libido and erections on testosterone cypionate? I built an instructional course showing you how to do that based on more than a half decade of coaching people on this and seeing it all in real time. You will walk away with libido and erections on cypionate if you get this course. LiveCortex.com or down the description of this video. All right, that has been the conclusion of the video now that we've got everything. Hold on. The video was that. Sorry. Give me this! The video's over. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you guys. I hope you had a great week, and I hope you have a great week moving forward. Much more content coming soon, so stay tuned. 2 things I would love for you to do for me. You guys already know. Number 1, just like the video. Please just do it. Please do it. Please do it. Please do it. I will wait right here. Like the video. Like it. Go ahead. Hit the like button. Sub to the channel. It makes a huge difference. A very, very high-paced, fast-growing TRT community. Otherwise, kick ass, rock on. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you boys in the next one.